Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into a really unique theory from a book written way back in 1962, and it claims to reveal the hidden reason behind our most stubborn, persistent problems. Have you ever had that feeling, like you're stuck in a loop, dealing with the exact same argument, or the same bad habit, or the same frustration over and over again? You try so hard to change, you use all your willpower, but somehow you always end up right back where you started. Well, this source argues that the real root of our troubles isn't our job, or our circumstances, or anything out there. No, it says the problem is inside us, specifically forgotten sentences that we cooked up in the heat of the moment and then locked away in our unconscious minds. It's a fascinating idea, and it totally challenges how we think about self-sabotage. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll look at the problem itself, then unpack the core theory. We'll see how it supposedly works inside our brains, learn the technique to fix it, and finally, check out the results the book claims you can get. Okay, first things first. The book starts by saying that most of our problems come from something it calls illogical action. So what in the world is illogical action? Well, the source gives a super simple example. Imagine you want to back your car out of the garage. That's your intention. But you accidentally put the car in drive and, bam, you hit the front wall. Your action produced the exact opposite of what you wanted. That, in a nutshell, is illogical action. And here's where it gets really tricky. The book points out that it's incredibly easy to see how other people are contributing to a fight, right? But it says we have this kind of mental blind spot that stops us from seeing or even just believing our own role in it. It's like we can't see that we're the ones who keep putting the car in drive instead of reverse in our own relationships. So how does this illogical thinking get so baked in? This brings us right to the book's big idea, the command phrase theory. And this is where it explains how these destructive thought patterns get created in the first place. According to the author, Richard Wetherill, it all happens in 4 key steps. It starts with frustration. You want something and you can't get it. Then you react with this big burst of rebellious emotion. And right in that moment, your mind forms a specific, totally illogical sentence. And then, and this is the key part, that sentence just gets dropped into your unconscious, and you completely forget you ever thought it. He calls these command phrases, and they're not just passing thoughts. They become a kind of hidden program. A thought like this becomes an unconscious directive, a rule that starts dictating how you act in the future, all without you even knowing it's there. And man, these commands can cover pretty much everything. They can be self-defeating beliefs, they can be justifications for bad habits, or just angry declarations. The book's claim is that all of them, every single one, started in one of those past moments of emotional, illogical thinking. But how exactly? How does a forgotten thought actually control what we do? I mean, it's one thing to have a bad thought, but it's another thing for it to become an automatic, compulsive action. So let's look at the mechanism. The theory uses this great metaphor of a closed mental circuit. The idea is, because that rebellious emotion that created the thought was never really resolved, the neural pathway for that thought stays live. It's like a live wire, just waiting for a similar situation to come along and trigger it automatically. So these closed circuits start acting like a faulty premise in our day-to-day thinking. They hijack our normally logical brain. They get mixed in with all our rational thoughts and just lead us to the wrong conclusions, causing us to act irrationally, and we never have any idea why. Okay, so if we're all just walking around with this hidden faulty programming, are we doomed? Is there a way out? Well, the book doesn't just diagnose the problem, which is nice. It actually offers a very specific way to cure it. The solution is actually a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, you just write down your strong emotional thoughts. No editing, no judging. Second, you calmly look at each one and you inspect it for the illogic. Is it really true? Is it exaggerated? Is it just plain wrong? And third, and this is the absolute key, the book claims the very instant you consciously recognize a phrase as false, its power over you is broken. You don't fight it with willpower, you just shine a light on it. And this really highlights the book's central idea. You see, on one hand, there's counteracting a problem. That's fighting the symptom with willpower. On the other hand, there's solving it. That's finding and neutralizing the root cause, that command phrase, so the urge itself just vanishes into thin air. Now, the book makes some pretty wild claims about what happens when you release these command phrases. And we're talking about way more than just feeling a little better. I mean, just look at this list. It alleges that this huge range of personal issues, from really serious compulsions and bad habits to chronic emotional stuff like anxiety and shyness, can all be resolved with this one single method. And maybe the most dramatic claim of all is that compulsions can vanish effortlessly. This quote about a smoker is the perfect example. He doesn't try to stop, he just loses interest. The whole idea is that it's not a struggle anymore. The urge itself just disappears once the command phrase that was driving it is gone. And finally, the book says you can prevent future problems from ever starting. The key is to stop installing these command phrases in the first place. You do that by learning to recognize when you're about to have that rebellious, emotional reaction, and you just choose a more logical response instead. So, whether you see this as a practical mental model or just a really curious theory from the past, it leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, doesn't it? What forgotten sentences, formed in a moment of frustration years ago, might still be pulling the strings in your life today?